Okay, good to go.
Yes. I'll just... All right. So, very good afternoon, everyone, all of us who have joined us on Zoom, who are watching us on social media platforms, and of course, our wonderful guest who's here with us today. A very warm welcome to all of you. Good thing is, both me and my co-host are in red today, so that's something that we have not planned, but that I can just get to. I just realized that both of us are flaunting red today, so that's a good beginning. And well, we are back again with our discussion on sports, and this time again it's a game that we all love, football. Once again, these are a series of webinars, as you would have noticed, that are being planned by the Tata Group, where sports, of course, is a way of life, goes without saying. And very recently we had Mr. Stuart Baxter from the head coach for Odisha FC, who was here with us for a conversation. And today we have with us Mr. Owen Coyle, who's the head coach for Jamshedpur FC. In fact, my co-host, before I introduced our guest, our wonderful guest today, as I've been saying, Mr. Rajiv Seth was also a part of Jamshedpur FC in the beginning. I'll get back to that, but a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Coyle. It's such a pleasure to have you. Of course, a lot of football lovers would know about him, but let me take this pleasure to introduce him. He began his career at Dumbarton and also played for Clydebank and Adrianians before joining English club Bolton Wanderers in 1993. Appeared for Bolton in the Premier League before a return to Scotland with Dundee United. Went on to play several other Scottish clubs, including Motherwell, Dunfermline Athletic, Falkirk, and St. Johnstone. I just hope I'm getting all the pronunciations right. Qualifying by descent, he played for the Republic of Ireland under 21 and B team before he made one full international appearance in 1994. Upon retiring from playing, well, I would say just retiring from playing, his love for sports continues as he coaches Jamshedpur FC. Mr. Coyle managed Falkirk and St. Johnstone before joining then championship side Burnley in November 2007. In his first full season in charge, he won promotion to the Premier League in 2009, then moved to Bolton Wanderers in January 2010. After leaving Bolton in October 2012, he was appointed manager of Wigan Athletic in June 2013, was made head coach of Houston Dynamo in December 2014 until he left by mutual agreement in May 2016. He then managed Blackburn Rovers between June 2016 and Feb 2017. In December 2019, of course, he forayed into the ISL, guiding the Chennai FC to a runners-up finish in the 2019-20 edition. And of course, major honors as a player, if you can, I think our viewers can see it on the slide. Bolton Wanderers Football League First Division Playoffs, 1995 Scottish Challenge Cup, 2001-2 Scottish Football League First Division, Scottish Football League Second Division, 2003-4. Major honors as a manager would be Scottish Football League First Division, 2002-3, League Championship play, 2009, Indian Super League runners-up 2019 Chennai FC, Premier League Manager of the Month, November 2010, March 2012. Well, we also have with us the CEO of Jamshedpur FC, Mr. Mukul Chaudhary. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Diksha.
Most welcome. After completing his master's in management, worked in brand management, advertising with leading international brands like Cadbury, Coca-Cola, India, P&G for a long period of 14 years before venturing into sports in the year 2016. Served as a general manager of Mumbai FC and the president of Mumbai Tigers FC before becoming the director of Manchester United Soccer Schools in India. joined the Tata Football Academy as an administrator in 2015, took additional charge of head of sports Tata Steel, took charge of CEO Jamshedpur FC in 2017 as the Tatas forayed into the elite ISL. He has also been entrusted with the responsibility of being the chief of all the Tata Steel Sports Excellence Centers, TFA, TAA, and Sports High Performance Center. So a very warm welcome to both our panelists, and I would just like to also inform our viewers that I was a little caught up and a little delayed, because of which I think we've been a little late of the technical issues. So sorry for all those who had been waiting for a start at 4 o'clock. And now to my wonderful co-host, Mr. Rajiv Seth. Like I said, Mr. Rajiv Seth, like I said, since it's about Jamshedpur FC, I would like to say that he had a short stint with Jamshedpur FC in its inaugural year, handling the administration and operation at Jamshedpur. Of course, an ex-first class cricketer from Bengal and Odisha, first batch trainee, product of MRF Pace Foundation, Madras, coached by none other than the legendary Dennis Lilly, played as a professional in English and Scottish Premier Division leagues, completed his ACC, ACB Level 3 coaching education program, has also coached Malaysian national cricket team in 2010, currently an panel BCCI match referee, graduated from Hindu College, Delhi University, did his special management from IIM Kolkata, and of course, currently he's the project director, Naval Tata Hockey Academy, Odisha, under Aegis. These webinars are also being organized. So, and yes, I'm Diksha Tiwari. I'm a journalist, actor, television host, moderator, communication consultant, and also associated with one of the high performance centers of Odisha, which is the XCBS Ahluwalia Center of Excellence in Sports Management. So over to you, Mr. Rajiv, to start this wonderful discussion.
Thank you, Diksha. First of all, let me address your first question of red. Red is what Jamshedpur FC is all about. That's why you see everybody red.
I was not prepared for me. I was not, I mean, correct. I just wore red today.
Correct. I think Mukul was dying to say that. I have taken that away from him. But obviously, Mukul will address us later. You know, what more can I say? I mean, after this lovely introduction, all I can say is fasten your seatbelt, guys. We are talking with a coach who delivers in whatsoever situation he's been put in. Welcome, Coach Owen Cole, to this lovely forum, and the fans who are waiting to hear you. The club CEO, Mukul, is someone very well known in the football circuit and well respected for his credentials and wisdom. Fans must be on their edge of the seats, as I mentioned, and to say the least. And let me start the talk, since we are on the threshold of ISL 2020-21 in Goa. There's lots and lots of questions which we have, but let me start with Coach Owen on Coach, very interestingly, your first match in India was at Jamshedpur against Jamshedpur FC. From there to managing Jamshedpur FC, how has this journey been?
Well, it's been fantastic, I have to say. Coming to a new country, you're always a bit, you're wondering what it's going to be like, what the football is going to be like, the stadiums and everything else. And my first game, you're right, was at Jamshedpur. And I have to say, having been very fortunate to have worked in the best league in the world, in the English Premier League, coming to Jamshedpur, the stadium, the training ground, the infrastructure, and I have to say, the people, they were so friendly, so welcoming. So my first experience of Indian football, it was an amazing experience because of the warmth, the generosity of spirit of the people, but equally the infrastructure, the atmosphere that night. The place was sold out. You could have got more fans in. Your Mukul and everybody at Tata, the group at Jamshedpur, they do an amazing job. And it was immediately, you know, and again, having been involved in a lot of big games in my career, I was immediately struck by the organisation of the club, but the passion the fans had for the game. And we led for 1-0 for a long period. Jamshedpur scored with a very controversial goal late on for a 1-each draw. But the whole experience, it was wonderful. And that's something that sticks with you in football when you encounter good people and good places. And I mean, myself, Sandy, my assistant, we were immediately struck by the quality of everything that Jamshedpur has shown us. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Superb. And that's what I can say in my least capacity, that's what the city of Jamshedpur or the town of Jamshedpur, the Tata Nagar, is all known for. The hospitality of Tatas is second to none. I'm not being partial here, being a Tata man, but I'm just telling you from what I have as a feedback from anybody and everybody I've met. I'm glad that you had a very good experience, with Jamshedpur when you landed here. From St. Johnstone, Burnley, Bolton, Wigan, Houston Dynamo, Blackburn Rovers to Chennai FC, you have a way with your teams when they are down and out. Whether promoting Burnley to the Premier League after 30 odd years to taking Chennai to the finals from the bottom of the table, what remains your approach through all these years, and fans will be extremely eager to hear a little about your Jamshedpur FC project.
Yeah, well, there's a number of things, and they all have to come together. There's not one single thing that helps to build a club and the team, and that's why when I had extensive chats with Mukul, and I was immediately, taken by his passion, his vision for the club, very much a kindred spirit. We both see football in the same way, so we want to have a very entertaining product. I want the fans to be proud of their team. When they look at that Jamshedpur team, they think, that's a team I'm proud of. I'm proud to be part of that wonderful club. So we want to play that brand of entertaining football, but we want to win. We have that passion to win and be successful for everybody, and it takes everybody being part of that. So you don't click your fingers or sprinkle fairy dust and everything falls into place. It takes time. It takes good people. It takes hard work on the training ground. It takes repetition. So there's a number of things that all come together, but nothing changes in the respect of, we're very fortunate and very blessed. I am too. I've had my career in football. I mean, I'm so blessed in that. But I want to make sure that everybody enjoys what they're doing. I want everybody to come in every day with a smile on their face, enjoy what they're doing, realising how lucky they are to have football as a career, but with an obligation as well to give things back, to entertain, make sure that the fans that come and support us through thick and thin, they enjoy watching their club. And we all feel, and this is the important part, everybody feels a huge part of it. We want to really, the best way I could put, whatever team we have, whatever that the club, particularly Jamshedpur and the Tata Group, I think that's why it's a very good match, because we kind of all have the same values and core principles. And I certainly feel when I look at the Tata Group, Jamshedpur, everything should be an extension of family. It should be like one big happy family. And the way we have to do that is that everybody sees everything the same way. So we have the same vision, the same plan. And if you deviate from that, that's when problems incur. That's when you don't bring success. But if we all have a clear vision, we have a clear way of thinking, we know what we want to do, then that will bring success. And good people help, obviously, with very good players. And I've been very fortunate since coming on board at the Jamshedpur. Mukul has been outstanding for me. Prashant, Gaurav, Jal, the media, everybody that works at the club, they've been outstanding. And that makes that transition, it makes it so much smoother. And by doing that, that gives you a better opportunity to hit the ground running. Because now when we're getting ready now, we're excited for everything that's coming our way. We want to make sure we have a good pre-season that takes us into the season proper. And we play an entertaining football that's pleasing on the eye, but it's also winning football because we want to win games.
Indeed, and I think what you said as a team is actually the core of the entire JFC. People you named, there are so many people behind the scene, Owen, I can tell you, in Tatas and in other stakeholders in Jamshedpur who contribute. And I think Mukul will be the right person when he comes to it. He will discuss about it. But moving on, you mentioned about infrastructure as being one of the important things. You said that one of the reasons why you chose Jamshedpur FC was because of the club's impressive infrastructure. What sets Jamshedpur FC apart from other ISL clubs in terms of infrastructure? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I have to be fair and give balance as well, because I think all the ISL clubs have been very progressive. Everybody, I think, each year is improving, and that's a huge compliment to the individual clubs and also to the league. But in fairness, what sets Jamshedpur apart is we have an outstanding stadium, as you know. And it was remiss of me earlier, because one of the things that struck me as well in that first experience was the playing surface. Now, I've been very fortunate to be at Wembley as a player and a manager, and the playing surface it was at Jamshedpur was as good as what they have at Wembley, which is a showcase for world football, as you know. So when you see the stadium, the playing surface, then the training ground, which is huge for me, because we want to win games, and obviously with the ISL, but we also as well, and it ties into everything the club have. We want to develop players. We want to grow. If you come to, certainly coming from life, I'm born in Glasgow of Irish parents, but when I've been to England or America or coming to India, you have an obligation to try and help the league and help the country grow in terms of their football development. And I want to develop young Indian players. I mean, that gave me a great source of joy last year to see the development. And Jamshedpur and Tata, that's everything they stand for, developing young players to give them, a lifestyle and a career. And it's just a wonderful opportunity. So because of the training ground that we have, and the club own their own training ground, which the other clubs in ISL, as you know, don't yet. So that would allow us then, and obviously it's kind of taken away from us this year with COVID, but it would allow us then, even when we've done our morning session with the first team in the group, to be back in the afternoon with individual sessions for young Indian players and the younger groups coming up through the academy. And that's, myself and Sandy's my assistant, with Noel as well, who's come on board, who's a brilliant addition for us. Ezekiel, the goalkeeping coach, everybody that we have working behind the scenes, Adrian, strength and condition, that we all work together for the betterment of those young players. And that's why the infrastructure at Jamshedpur was a huge thing on coming on board, because it allows me the chance as well to, before you're a head coach, you're a coach. And that involves growing young players, helping people, and hopefully imparting some knowledge, some wisdom that you've picked up over the years. But really, it's to help people. And that's why everything at Jamshedpur was perfect for me in terms of helping to grow and develop young Indian players. And that means you're going to have careers and then play for the national team, because that must be a huge goal as well. That when we come, we want to improve the standing of the national team and how Indian football is seen globally all over the world.
Exactly, splendidly said, and we collectively need to grow together. Let me bring in Mukul here. Mukul, in the same parlance, what has the steps been taken on the strategies implemented behind making Jamshedpur FC's infrastructure so impressive? Since majority of ISL clubs don't pay much of a heed, or rather don't have much to really go for to develop infrastructures, and still rely on the rented premises or rented ones.
Yeah, I would say that we are really lucky that we're based in Jamshedpur, where the city is completely run and managed by Tatas. It's a private company which basically runs. I think it's very few such cities you'll find, and therefore we have much more control than what other clubs would have. So I'm sure they have their own share of challenges. I'm sure the intent is surely there for them to develop the infrastructure. It is just that the way things are back in big cities, infrastructure and real estate is not as easy. But doing their bit, they are dependent on. So for them, I would feel that I'm sure they would be trying, but we are lucky as far as our infrastructure is concerned. But we went a step ahead in terms of seeing cricket to develop to the world-class levels, so that like Owen was just mentioning, that the playing surface itself is that something that you would find at an international level. We try to do the same thing with our practice pitch as well. So there's no compromise as far as infrastructure is concerned. We were very focused that if we want to get into this sport and see to it that the sport evolves along with the team, of course, we have to see to it that we provide the best facilities that can help these boys or the entire team to excel the way we want them to. And while we did that for senior teams, we also saw to it that the same thing was extended to the junior teams as well. So we are trying to work on that, and infrastructure makes a big difference when it comes to development of any sport for that matter. You can have seen in cricket, and the reason why cricket is flourishing the way it is, it's also because of the kind of stadiums and the practice pitches and otherwise things are available for cricket in India. And same thing, you just have to replicate it. Evolved sport footballing nations are just doing that, and we're just trying to be there along with them.
Very correctly said, and as you rightly said, ISL has done, which is again a great deal of their side of work, and so as many other clubs in the ISL league have tried their best. Just swinging back to Owen, the legendary Jack Charlton, who passed away a few months back, had a great impact on your career as a player as well as a coach. Can you share some of the moments and the philosophies you imbibed from him?
Yeah, well, I was very fortunate, Rajiv. As I say, I'm one of 9. I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters of Irish parents who came from County Donegal in Ireland, and we lived in Glasgow. But I was brought up brought up in an Irish culture, you know, so I'm very proud to be Scots born, but equally I'm very proud of my Irish heritage. And so because of that, I had the opportunity to play for Scotland or Ireland. And my first game as an under-21 international was actually for Ireland against Scotland. So it was really, you know, fascinating circumstances. And I actually scored the goal after 2 minutes against Scotland, although Scotland went on to win the game. But obviously Jack Charlton was the manager of the Irish national team who had unprecedented success. I mean, he was such a wonderful man, a very, very clever man as well. And he brought me into the under-21s. So I played numerous times for them, under-23s, B international, and then obviously involved in the full internationals with them. So, but he was very simple in his approach in terms of how he wanted to play. And what he did, he made it very clear for the players what their job was. And that's something I've always tried to make sure that each player knows their job, they know their responsibility. If they're unsure about anything, then let's have a clear and concise chat about it so we all know our job entering the field of play. Now, in football, there'll always be mistakes. The best players, Ronaldo, Messi, the best players in the world make mistakes. But I always try to make sure that my players don't dwell on the mistakes. It's how you react to the mistake. If you're going to let it, you know, swallow you up, and then you're no good to it. But if you can focus, look to recover that mistake and have that mentality, then that helps everybody. And Jack was very clever on that in terms of, and it was something I picked up from him, and that helps in terms of, I think, helping players. So his man management skills, that's a huge thing out Rajiv in football. And right. Jack had a great way with them, so that every player knew exactly where they stood with him. And a lot of it was dialogue. It didn't have to be a 1 hour chat, but what he said, it kind of carried weight, if that makes any sense. You know, he always knew what he wanted to say, and he said it at the right time. And I think when you're able to give that, and ultimately with players, you want to make sure that they feel valued, they feel trusted, they're confident. And Jack always gave his players that feeling. So there was a number of things I learned from him. And, you know, he was very straight talking. You knew exactly what he required and what he asked of you. And that was the other thing as well. He never asked something of you that he knew you couldn't do. And I think that's a key thing, that you don't ask people to do things they're not capable of. You understand what their qualities are, what they can bring, and that's what you ask them to deliver. And so, you know, I had a lot of time for him, and, you know, God rest him. But he was a wonderful man, and he impacted on an awful lot of people.
Exceptional stuff. And, you know, knowingly or unknowingly, there would be many youngsters, many players who would be looking upon you in your journey as a coach to be that guiding force, the philosophy, you know, the friend and the guide in you. And this is how I think, as you rightly said, it's all about man management. It's all about how to deal with the players, because you would have a mixed bag. You would have, you know, not so established names, and you would have probably very big names too. So that's how I think the journey goes on. And I'm glad that Jack did his bit for you. Sorry, you want to say?
Rajiv.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I something, because you made there such an important point, Rajiv. And sometimes I think in football, but when you were talking about,
I think we have some internet issues with the coach.
Sorry, Rajiv, somebody tried
to
call.
Yeah, so you can carry on. We can hear you now. It's still breaking up, but we can try. Yes. I think, Coach, we've lost you there. Okay, so till such time we get the connectivity back. Let me come back to Mukul. Mukul, in one of your earlier interviews, you have said that your interaction with the bus driver, who was a Mohun Bagan fan, had a profound impact on you and changed your perspective towards Indian football. Can you share this anecdote with us? Especially the fans would love to know that.
Yeah, I'll try to make it short, but it's a nice story which I'd like to share with everybody. Typically, I was in that point of time, one was working with Mumbai FC, and we happened to be playing our first I-League game along with Mohun Bagan. That was in Calcutta. It's an away game, and my driver, who was flying me from the hotel to the stadium, was a hardcore Mohan Bagan fan. I realized only when I started with him, and he knew that I was from Mumbai FC and I'm going for the stadium, and he was trying to just prepare me for the loss rather. So all the while he kept on saying, "It's a big team. Don't worry. It happens, and you're playing against a big team. It may not go so well with you." And uh, all the while I was just quietly listening to him. Yeah, because it was when I was anxious. Not it was the first game in the I League at that for that season, and we were playing the Giants of Kolkata in Kolkata. So it was something that I was just to listen, and I said, "Hey, yeah, I think we will just see what best we can do on the field." Cut to it happened so that we managed to win that game against Mohan Bagan, and it was a big win for us because the first game in I League, and that too with such a big team. This was, I think, 2007, and it was a very big win for us. And I was back in the cab again, and he was flying me back, and this particular person was completely shattered. He could not believe himself that a team like ours, which was just entered from championship into the I League, could beat Mohan Bagan. And all through, even I was slightly sensitive to his situation, I kept quiet all the way till I reached the hotel, and we didn't have a single word till we reached the hotel. And I thought, it was just wise not to say anything because I thought he was looking pretty much hurt. And but at the same time, when I was getting down, I said, "See, it's a game. I don't know. We just got a little lucky." So I was being little empathetic to him and saying, "We got a little lucky, and maybe we played well." So I said, "No, that's fine. It was a bad day for us. But remember one thing: you now have a next game. 3 days down the line, we are playing East Bengal." And he was telling me that next 3 days later, you have to beat East Bengal because there are rivals and they don't deserve to be there. If you've beaten us, you have to
Correct.
beat them. And I said, "Okay, I'll try to do that." But it's something that maybe I get lucky again. I was trying to be little naive about the whole thing, saying that, "Oh, let's see what we can do." Cut to, I had to move to Bombay immediately. So because it was the first I League game, I attended that and came back to Bombay. And while the East Bengal game was played, I was not in Kolkata, and somehow we managed to win that game again. So it was two big games that we had back to back when we got into I League. And out of nowhere, this person found my telephone number and he called me to thank me uh, for what I've done for him by beating East Bengal as a club. And he thought that I took it very seriously. And because he told me and he said, "Aapne hamara baat rakha, very good." I was completely zapped with this person. And I thought, if something, these fans, if tomorrow, if I want to have a fan, I want to have a fan like him. Next day, immediately after the game, East Bengal had called a staff meeting, and I actually narrated the story. And I said, "If you have any targets in mind, this is what you want to go and do. Is going to create fans who actually believe in the team and the club, who fight for them, who feel bad because of the club loses." And that's the emotional connect that you need to build with the fans. And that's what you want. So this is a big example. And keep this in mind as you go along, that you have to be sensitive to the fans and you are responsible for them and you see how they grow. And this is something that I have kept with me all through. And that's how I look at fans every time I do something, any kind of activity or engagement, keeping it in mind that, hey, someday I would have fans like East Bengal, Mohan Bagan. And today, both of them are there in the ISL. I'm just glad that, it's going to be great for Indian ecosystem, for football
Right.
ecosystem going forward. Yeah.
Superb, exceptional stuff. And this is what Calcutta particularly is all about, with the ardent fans of one club or the another, So this is a great thing. Coach, are you back? Would you want to make that comment? Which you
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, we can hear you well.
Yeah. So, brilliant. What I want to say, Rajiv, and it was following you made a very clever, when you were chatting, very clever statement. The players, because we have all different characters, we have all different personalities. And so, what you do with one person, you might do something different with the other. But the most important thing, and I always say that, with your group, because we have to, the group have to stick together. Everybody has to understand. So as the person plays 20 games, because I've always trusted, and everybody feels they have a fair opportunity to take the field, because unfortunately we can only start 11. But you must feel that when you get your chance, and I always say this, if you produce the quality in the field, then you'll play in the team. Normally you'll come out the team if you're doing well, then you stay in the team. And so we stress that to the players. It's a fair fight, and the ones that are playing best, then they will play.
Correct. Wonderful, superb. Mukul, just staying with you on something which I think I took it up with you in the earlier webinar, also in the different forum. We talked about this, but for the benefit of our new viewers, I'm just putting it again. While people are well versed with the youth development activities of Tata Football Academy, the grassroots development activities undertaken by Jamshedpur FC, which is also doing some remarkable work on that front, is relatively flying under the radar. Share with us some of the initiatives of Jamshedpur FC is undertaking to promote grassroots football. This is very, very important for the entire ecosystem too. I think you're muted, Mukul.
Yeah, thanks, Rajiv. So it is something very, very critical for Indian football, so to say, and this is something that we have been doing very diligently right from the year one, when we realized that we are getting into the commercial side of the sport with JFC. We realized that we need to grow the ecosystem, and particularly the grassroots, because tomorrow, if I want any players to be there, it would be just wonderful to have lots of local players, and at the same time create a footballing culture in the city which will support their own team as they go along. And to do that, one realized that you already had a legacy which was there in football in Jamshedpur. We just had to see to it that we further enhance it in the manner where you do it in a very structured manner. So what we did was we invested in, because if you have to start grassroots, the biggest problem, the challenge that we were facing was the coaches. So the first year itself, we decided that we'll see to it that we start investing in coach education. And today I'm very proud that in less than 2 years, we could manage to get almost 220 coaches being trained at the grassroots level, and also at D division, D license, and some of them are doing C right now. Now, this was completely from nowhere. It was all the local ex-players who were and aspirants who were there from the city who were gotten together, and we managed to. At the same time, there were lots of school sports teachers who we thought that if they educate them, then they can probably deliver some scientific football on ground, and that would help us as an ecosystem. And that's where we got into that. As we speak, we have now opened close to 9 footballing schools, and there are almost 22 other centers which we run along with Tata Steel's Foundation. Together, we have close to 3,000 kids which train football on a regular basis with our coaches which we have created so far. And this particular thing will go a long way in developing the football ecosystem of Jamshedpur and in and around Jamshedpur, so to say.
Wonderful.
Today,
carry on.
So we have this entire integrated system now, right from grassroots, which starts at 5 years of age, which has, we have an under 10 team, we have an under 12 team, under 14 team, and therefore, which has been getting, which is part of Jamshedpur FC now. So the best talent is now taken into the fold. So we have integrated that part, which is between 6 and 14. Then you have the Tata Football Academy, which has a residential school, residential finishing school for football, which has created so many players so far, and has wonderful statistics to talk about, like from 150 players to 24 captains, unparalleled to any other academy in the country, so to say. And now we have a reserve team. So you have a pass out of TFA who has a probability to get into the reserves, which is more like giving exposure to them at a competitive level in the second division. Our reserve team plays in the second division of I-League. And then from there, you have a pathway getting into the first team. So we have created an entire integrated system, complete pathway for anybody who's aspiring to make a career into football, can grow right from first year of 4 years of age to a professional football. And this pathway is something which is unique. I think not many would have that. And we are thankful that we have got the wonderful support of the city and the corporate, which is Tata Steel, helping us put together, and all the schools which are there who are associated with us, who are with us in this entire program. I think it's just wonderful, and in time to come, we'll see a lot of young footballers from the city playing for the city.
Well, all I can say is there's a lot of humming going around. That is probably one of the best grassroots programs which any ISL club is doing at this point, and I'm not boasting about it. I only go with facts and figures. Coming back to coach, Coach, during your appointment, you have said that your primary task would be to take Jamshedpur FC to the place where they haven't been, the ISL semi-finals. Mind you, we were very close to that in the first year. Had it not been the permutation combinations in the last round, since I was there at some capacity. After playing an active part in the recruitment and assessing the team, has the target leveled up to maybe winning the ISL, Coach?
Yeah, well, our target, and Muka will tell you, we share the same passion, the same desire. We want to win. That's we obviously all the other things we have to do, of course, but ultimately we want to win. We want to be champions. Now everybody in the ISL sets out with the same goals, but we think we've worked very hard on the recruitment side. Muka will tell you himself, with Prashant has been a godsend. Gaurav, the boys, and we did it collectively. We did it as a group because we all want, as I say, want to share the same thing. And so we think we've brought some very good players to the football club. And I think Jamshedpur have had a history of having good players. There's no doubt there were some good players there last year, but with that, we never attained the success one wanted. So we had to freshen things up. A couple of players were already contracted, Aitor Monroy and David Grande, very, very good players. And then we want to complement them. But the other thing as well, we have some fantastic young Indian talent. So when you put it all together, we think we've put a squad capable, I certainly believe, and Muko does as well, of standing toe-to-toe with the best clubs in the ISL. Now, we feel we're giving ourselves an opportunity. You're right. First, we have to make sure that we're in those top four slots to fight out to be the ultimate champion. But we certainly believe that, we're capable of doing that. That's why, football is such a wonderful game, but we're excited to get going. We're excited to get the group together so that out with the football, even from the personality side, they mix and they all have the same goal, and that's to help each other, because that's what it's got to be. We've got, as talented as they are, the recruitment, as talented as the players are individually, our strength will be as a group. That's what will help us when we're all in this together. The difficult moments that we're all pulling in the same direction, but we do have, and I think, exciting players at the top end of the pitch, players that can take a man on, can score a goal, can create a goal, and that gets fans out in the seats. And although I'm the head coach and the Muko as the leader of that whole group, when you put that together, we get excited. We're football fans. We want to see players that bring a smile to our face, and we've brought some terrific players. The club already had a couple in the making. For Jackie Chan, for example, what a fantastic signing that is from Goa. Somebody who played against me last year, and as much as I was the opposing head coach, I was in awe of his talent, and I thought, what a wonderful player. And then to go and get the top goal scorer in the ISL in Valskis, we're just trying to send a message out of intent that we're not here to make the numbers up. We're here to challenge to be the champions, because that's our ultimate goal and our belief that we're capable of doing it.
It's so pleasing to the ears, and the kind of confidence and the positivity coming out of this discussion. I'm so pleased. Moving ahead, as you just now mentioned, and you've mentioned it on numerous occasions before, Coach, you said everybody wants to win, but I want to win playing with a style that everybody enjoys watching. Your teams are known to be playing high-intensity, free-flowing football. Will Jamshedpur FC mark any change in the strategies, or are the fans in a treat like they have always been watching your team play?
Well, first and foremost, I think the fans in Jamshedpur and Jharkhand as well, as a state, they love the football. They're passionate about their team. And they want to see a style of football that's pleasing on the eye. Now, my teams have always done that, because I want to win, but I want to entertain. I want to be representative of the fan base. I want that team to represent them when on the field. So I want to know that the players out there that are giving everything they can in terms of effort, work ethic, desire, but they have the quality to go with it. When they get the ball, the fans get excited because something special could happen. So that's what we try to do. We put that all together. Now, it won't happen overnight, but that's what the pre-season allows us to implement those ideas with the players, so that when we start the season, we hit the ground running with hopefully the quality of the football and the desire to win games. So, yes, we will play a style, because if you look at, you mentioned it earlier, and I'm glad you did, If you look at the recruitment, the type of players were brought in, they're all footballing type of players. And when you add that to the existing players, with the young Indian players, plus obviously with Aitor there and David Grande, and Jackie Chan, the signing of Jackie Chan, young Willian and other, and we've signed a number of attacking players because we want to be, and not just have one game plan. If we need to change, that's to play that entertaining brand of football, but a winning football.
Okay. Going forward, coach, Jamshedpur FC's last 2 managers were Spanish. So is that a task that you have in your hand? Detaching the Spanish flavor of football and imprinting your own playing style and philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, people talk about, a Spanish style of play, a Brazilian style of play. The simple thing is, there's different ways. There's a million ways to win a game of football. But equally, most of us, we all accept that we want to pass and we want to move the ball and we want to be entertaining. I've been very fortunate. I've worked in the best league in the world, in the English Premier League. And when you look at what people perceive to be the best coaches in the world, they've all came to the English Premier League. Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, all these boys, because they all want to be part of that. So there's obviously huge qualities within the English Premier League, but that doesn't change, in respect of whether you go to America, India, Australia, England, Scotland. As a coach, I want to play a certain style of football that involves taking care of the ball, being very technical, being pleasing the eye. And a lot of Spanish traits are, technical based and everything else. So it's not about getting away from a Spanish style of play or anything else. It's about playing a brand of football that the fans, who ultimately that's who we're there to please and to entertain, that they enjoy watching. And also, as well as fans, you want to have a taste of success. Everybody loves to win. Now, unfortunately, not everybody can win, but you want to make sure that you're doing your maximum to give yourself a chance to do that. So I certainly feel we have an entertaining team, a team that's, that everybody likes to watch. I mean, and you mentioned it last year, and it'd be remiss not to. If you watched that Chennai team, they were a team that played high intensity, a team that, they ran until they dropped every second. They were supremely fit, and we'll make sure that our group are again. But they also played some unbelievable football. I mean, the amount of goals we scored and the entertaining and the brand. And that's everything I want to bring to Jamshedpur. And the great thing for me, with Mukul and everybody there, I have a fantastic, support system, people that will help, so they don't leave you on your own to do it. We're very much that group dynamic again, both on and off the park. And that's a huge thing. I mean, I think Jamshedpur are a shining light, and I really do in Indian football in terms of the standards they set and how they want to get about. And yeah, we've not been in the playoffs yet, but that's not stopped the club each year striving to get better, to improve. And ultimately, what we look to put in place, and this was the other thing as well, chatting with Mukul, which was very important, that we wanted to put a plan in place, a strategy that will serve the club well for years to come. So long after we're all away, Jamshedpur is still, it's a top name in Indian football. And that's up to us at the moment to put that plan in place that will serve the club well for years to come. So I'm just excited to be part of such a wonderful group.
So true, and I'm so happy to hear the sense of camaraderie which is already flowing in a very full-flowing manner. Mukul, in the same lines, would you have any thoughts? Because you've been a lead right from start of JFC. You're like kind of a founder member.
Yeah. So honestly, I'll tell you, it is not to do with the style of play. If you're talking about, it's typically every coach has his own style, but it's also sometimes it's a language. You have an accent, it changes, but the fundamentals remain the same. And it's more about the content. So it's finally about passing, receiving the ball, and finally scoring the goal. So it doesn't matter whether it's a Spanish coach or it's not segregated by, say, about the countries per se. Of course, there's a little bit of flavor there, but it is finally football. So I don't see much of this thing happening. Of course, every coach brings in his own qualities, and we are really lucky to have Owen with us, who has proved time and again, and particularly in India, when we saw him do the magic that he did with Chennai, and I think it was fantastic. And I think it's just about getting the football right. And also, as Owen mentioned, it's about also putting together entertaining football where people start believing and liking the way you play, and more than which style you belong. It's just your style that you need to create, which people start liking, so to say. So I think that's what we'll go on to create, and maybe people will give examples of we want to play like Jamshedpur someday.
Wonderful, wonderful. Jamshedpur FC has retained established stars like David Rande and Aitor Monroy, sorry, in the ranks, and added the likes of Stephen Alex and Peter Hartley. Uh, Coach, you have played an active part in the recruitment of the foreign players. What has the strategy been in terms of foreign players recruitment?
Yeah, well, it's a brilliant question, Rajiv, and I'm glad you asked. The recruitment, the strategy was very simple: to get the best players available for those positions. Now, Mukul touched on it, Paul. If we could have found, if it was, obviously, Aitor Monroy and David Grande were already there. So there was 5 in terms of foreign players available, 4 plus the AFC player. Now, if their 4 players had come from Brazil or wherever they came, it didn't matter. It was finding the best players and the best people as well, because it's not just about getting somebody who's loaded with ability, Rajiv. We had to make sure that we were bringing the right person in terms of somebody that's representative of the club, as representative of the Tata Group and everything, Tata Steel and the group and everything else. So we have to find a very good player, but equally a very good human being, somebody that will help and add to the group. And we think we've done that in the individual boys. Peter Hartley, I know because he's competed against me at different times, but he's a captain, he's a leader, he knows what it is to help others. Stephen Easy that's an unbelievable signing. This is a boy that's only 26, who's already nearly 15 international caps for Nigeria, just missed out and going to the last World Cup. So I would suggest he's actually coming into the prime of his career. So that's what we try to target as well, making sure Alex Lima, who I know, I work with him at Houston Dynamo, and an outstanding player, but again, a team player. He'll do anything for his teammates. And Valskis, I had him last year, and Nerka just got better and better. A Lithuanian international, he's a top player in his own right, but he loved his experience in India, and that's why he wanted to stay. And when I sat with Mukul and we said, how can we, get Valskis, and Mukul was great. And to bring a player like that, he was the top scorer in the league. He won the Golden Boot. That sends a message of intent to everybody that we're not here playing it, that we're here to mean business, because yes, we want to, as I say, everybody to enjoy the Jamshedpur way of playing, but we want to win, and we're serious to do that. And I think when you add those players into the mix of what we already have, with the young Narendra and Aniket and these boys, I think we're going to put a very exciting team together.
Yeah, in fact, I was about to ask you about the talent scouting part. And in fact, let me ask you before I actually hand it over to Diksha. She must be really, really waiting out with some questions I can see in the chat box. Very quickly, Coach, to you, you have extremely good reputation in promoting youth players. Jamshedpur also has some exciting youngsters, as you mentioned. And, Amarjeet Singh, Aniket Jadhav, Mubashir, and the recent addition of players like William and Bhupinder Singh. The Indian contingent looks promising. What has been the plan in terms of scouting the Indian players?
Yeah, well, again, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it was really important. So when we looked at the Indian profiles, I wanted to tie into everything that Jamshedpur and Tata stand for, and that was giving certainly in the football, young players an opportunity. So if you look at all the, particularly the Indian players we've signed, they're all young with an opportunity to grow and develop. And that's what we wanted to send out that signal. Even I signed young Dinliana from Chennai as well, who, when I went into the club, wasn't even getting a game. He brought him into the team, and he was outstanding, so much so that Igor, the national manager, has his eye on him because of how well he's been doing and developing. So that's the opportunity I want to give to our young Indian players, because I speak with Igor quite a lot, and he's of the same mind as me about growing and developing, obviously, Indian football. That's his job, but equally giving young players an opportunity. And when you look at what we have at Jamshedpur, we have, I would suggest, 5 or 6 of those young Indian players who could easily be national team players. And that's what we want to do. If you're doing well for Jamshedpur, then it attracts the attention of the national manager. And there's not a greater honour than football than representing your country. So, it's a wonderful opportunity for everyone involved. But in terms of targeting, we wanted young players with flair, but with the scope to improve. That if, with the coaching and, we're spending time with them, that they could grow and develop because by doing that, they help the team. And if they help the team, that helps everybody move forward.
Correct. Mukul, any thoughts on this?
Sorry.
Any thoughts on the talent scouting part and the promising
Of course.
contingents? Yeah.
I think we have been very serious about it, and typically, as I mentioned before, we have a academy of our own. I don't know whether how many of the clubs would have that. Very few do, and we have a reserve team. So we keep on scouting young talent, which can be put up into the system. So while you give up the academy boys the first priority, you have been always looking for young players, and I think that process will go on. And this season, particularly since we have a little long time, we started also pretty early in terms of a recruitment process. We touched upon a lot of young players, and we realized that a lot of talent that is there, which one can be looking at and watching them grow and can be inducted into the system. So the scouting process will go on, and we have various levels, right from the academy to the reserve team and of course the senior team. But we are consciously going to look at players. In fact, one of my analysts, who's Gaurav, does this actively, where he keeps watching apart from what he does for the club as a full-time this thing. He will keep scouting and looking for talent which is there across the country, and particularly younger players in various leagues and various levels, which could be helpful for the club.
Superb. Before I hand it over to Diksha, the one last one. Diksha, I hope you're ready. But one last one to coach, and maybe Mukul can also chip in. If we talk about your backroom staff, coach, you're bringing along with you your assistant and trusted Lieutenant Sandy, as you mentioned earlier, and the recent appointment of Noel Wilson, who joins you as a backroom staff and as an assistant coach. Your opinions on that?
Well, it was a very important acquisition for the club, and obviously for Noel to come on board and work at first team level. This is, I mean, obviously I know him now as a man because we've had extensive chats. But he was, immediately struck by his knowledge of the game. And it's really important as well that we have that connection because, sometimes Sandy will be there. Some players might want to have on with Sandy. Players can approach Noel. And then obviously, so we're all there working together. But he's an extensive knowledge of Indian football, of the players and everything else. And that can only help. I mean, I was very fortunate I had Sabir Pasha last year at Chennai, who was invaluable for the work Sabir done. A lovely man, again, similar to Noel, a fantastic footballer in their own right, and then grown as a coach and developed. And so that's an important part, as is Adrian, who with the strength and make sure the players' fitness and health and their well-being, and Ezekiel, the goalkeeping coach, who's worked at the club before. So we very much have a strong dynamic, and everybody pulling in the same direction. But Noel was a great addition to the staff. Wonderful man, as you know, and I'm looking forward to really working with him on that daily basis.
Superb. I think we're going to take some questions before I could come back and maybe slip in a few more, and we can wind it off because I think we started late, but we still are hitting the time. Diksha, you would have some questions, I'm sure.
There are questions. There are a lot of requests as well, which are, which of course are not possible to take all of them here. But a lot of best wishes to the team as well. That's coming from the audience all over. So one question, like you've just said, Mr. Owen, that local fans are best in India. That's something that you said. So one of our from the audience has asked, how about local talent? Can we develop some Jamshedpur-based players as well? So that's a question from the audience.
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, and that's a huge thing. Mukul touched on it earlier. That would give us great source of joy because when you develop local talent and they play for Jamshedpur, then the fans have an immediate identity because it's someone that they'll know or family members have known. They've grown up in the area, in the state, and to play for your local team, I mean, that's a wonderful thing to have. So that's a big aim of ours, to grow and develop that young talent. And equally, as Jamshedpur have done and the Tata Group have done, that infrastructure. I mean, I've got to say this, there is undoubted talent in India with the population of the country and the love that the kids have for football and sport. There's huge talent there. We have to put that infrastructure in place to give ourselves a best chance to nurture the talent. Because if we do, it'll go from strength to strength and everybody will benefit. The clubs will benefit, the national team will benefit, And so it's a huge undertaking, but it's something we're really passionate about.
Wonderful. So a lot coming up there in as far as local talent is concerned. A lot of questions on, of course, Indian player, Asian player signing. I mean, I see about 6 or 7 questions on that. So I'll just in general take it as, I mean, people are asking, is there any, I mean, this is for both of you. In fact, there are questions directed to both of you. How about Asian player signing, specifically Indian player signing? I mean, that's quite a few.
Right. So I think we're more or less done with the Indian player signing and Asian player signing. I think we'll just ask the fans to bear with us for a while. We're just doing a last leg. They will soon hear from us as far as the Asian signing goes. So just a few more days and you'll know.
All right. So that's great.
Keeping the cards close. Yes.
No, well, yeah. In fairness to Mukul, he's right. I always say they're never signed until the contract is returned, signed and sealed. That's when you know you have the players. I think it's fair to say that, you know, the AFC player we signed, the fans won't be disappointed. We've obviously signed some very good players, and again, it's the same process. We do have 2 or 3 targets in mind, but we have to make sure that everything is the way we want it. So that's that. But we are getting closer, should I suggest?
I like the answer. The excitement remains, and of course, there's the assurance that the fans won't be disappointed. I think that's good enough to take from that. So, biggest threats for the upcoming season, Mr. Robin, what do you think?
Well, I've got to say everybody's a threat, because I think all the teams they've strengthened. There's been a lot of good players signed in the league, and again, it's going to be different circumstances. So I think it's who's going to adapt best to the situation in terms of the league being in Goa and behind closed doors and everything. And that's why, for us ourselves, I think there's, as I mentioned to Rajiv earlier, we're chatting, there's going to be a strong mentality required this year. Probably more than most other years, to go with the physicality but the mental strength will be huge. So that's something, again, we're obviously actively working on. And the big people will always look at ATK, obviously the motor connection now, Mohun Bagan and Goa and Bengaluru, and obviously Chennai were, that was the top 4 teams from last year. But there's some very good teams last year. Mumbai, obviously, with the City Group now, have invested heavily. There's been a lot of finance spent there to get good players. So it's going to be a fascinating season. There's no doubt about it. So I think they're all tough opponents, all worthy opponents. But my focus is only on Jamshedpur, making sure that we're the very best that we can be. And if we are, I believe that we'll stand toe-to-toe with the best.
Absolutely. Focus absolutely on Jamshedpur and on the philosophy that we are the best. Speaking of threats, there's a question also on the COVID impact. Of course, that's something which is, how are you planning to tackle that as far as ISL and, before the series begin? What about the COVID impact?
Yeah, well, obviously Mukul will come in and explain them probably in a lot more detail. I think it's something that, because it's new to everybody, there's no doubt there's going to be little trials and tribulations along the way. But what we have to do primarily is in the pre-season, get the players physically, mentally ready for the season. And within that, obviously, then make sure we get the acquired allotted time for the physical side in terms of the training, then the technical side in terms of playing some friendly matches. So there's going to be a few little issues that crop up, but I'm pretty sure we have enough clever people in the league and certainly throughout the clubs that can deal with those and make sure that we're ready for what will no doubt as much as closed doors, but it will be a very exciting season for the fans. And I just wish the stadiums were full, because the fans certainly they deserve that. Because the Indian fans they're wonderful, what they bring to the matches, the atmosphere, the vocal encouragement, the beautiful colours. So the sooner we get back to that, the better. But obviously everybody's health and safety is of paramount importance. But listen, it's going to be a wonderful season, one that we're all looking forward to.
Absolutely, it should be a wonderful season, and of course, fans are also equally looking forward to it. There's a generic. I mean, before I hand it over to Rajiv, of course, one more question, which was on a generic manner about Indian football. Generally we say that it would take 10 to 15 years to actually come to a World Cup team level. So the question that Mr. Neeraj is, what do you think is primarily missing? Is it infrastructure? Is it the player's ability to work hard, or is it talent in general? Maybe if Muku, sir, if you could probably answer that.
Okay, so I think it may not be wise or right to say that we don't have talent. Talent, of course, is there. Uh, the, uh, and we are evolving. If you notice, we've been 160 close to that ranking in the FIFA, and now we're closer to 100. That's a journey that one has traveled. That's a distance that one has traveled. And as we go along, we'll only get better. Of course, there's a lot to be done. Infrastructure is something that is required. We have so many schools. We have so many. Only thing is we don't have so many teachers. So those it's about awareness of importance of grassroots, which is happening now. I think both ISL, AIFF, and the clubs, who all are big stakeholders of this game, are all putting their efforts together to see to it that we have a good talent pool that one is trying to build as we go along. So in time to come, of course, it will take a while. Nobody produces the number of engineers that India produces. Let me put it that way. So, and we can't compete with Brazil and other Latin American and European countries as far as producing footballers is concerned. But it's just the way you look at the sport, the orientation for the sport as far as India is concerned. We are looking at it very differently. Sports as such is going to a different level. If you had asked me 10 years back whether Kabaddi would make a spectator sport, I would have said no. And today we see what is happening with Kabaddi. Same is true with IPL. We have grown seeing cricket in Test cricket, and it's never thought that it would be a 50 over limited over, 20 over limited over game, and it's so interesting and exciting. The game has changed completely, and the kind of following that we have for the sport, we have a big example in cricket when we look at, and we feel that there's appetite for more sports. There's badminton which is evolving, there's shooting which is evolving, there's other team games. Cricket, we're doing very well in hockey. I think India is just the next big thing to happen to India. Is it's going to be a big sporting nation, to so to say. We have huge consumer base, therefore you have so many foreign companies getting attracted towards India as a consumer market per se. Things are going to be very different as we go along. There's good amount of broadcast which is happening, the number of audience base which is there, which is increasing. Therefore, the amount, or rather the revenues which were initially not percolating down towards sports, is now moving towards sports. Broadcasters are working hard. I think there are lots of things that are happening within the ecosystem, and nothing can stop us from being a bigger and a better sporting nation in time to come. So I think it's sports is becoming more and more a major source of entertainment, and the consumption is going high, as you see, as we go along. The leagues, the matches, even the single what you call athletics. We are actually watching athletics the way it was not watched before. So these are things which are changing in the country, and football is just one of the elements. And as a second popular sport after cricket, I think it's gaining popularity very, very fast. So I think it's a matter of time. It should be there. I think it just will be. I think it's for the generation that's going to come after us is going to see a different nation, or rather footballing nation, as we come along.
Absolutely, much better days ahead. I think I'll just hand it over to Rajiv, but there are still questions coming up, so I'll just take one last that's come up in the chat, which is also, I think, directed to you, Mr. Mukul. Can the Asian Champions League slot and faring against the best team of the continent be a reality for Jamshedpur FC in upcoming 2 seasons?
Of course, we would want to do it this season if possible. So that's the ambition. If you don't have those kind of ambitions, you may not be able to be here in a competitive scenario the way we are. And that's what we aim for. Of course, lots of variables that happen as you go along. But when you put a team together the way it is right now, it's with that ambition.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think we have a time constraint, so I'll just hand it over to Rajiv to just conclude if he has some more questions to ask to both our panelists. And thank you, audience, for being so active during all these webinars, coming up with such great questions, sending in your best wishes to the team. I think on behalf of everyone who sent you, I mean, me and Rajiv would particularly like to wish Jamshedpur FC all the best for the season ahead, on behalf of all our audience who are watching us and sending you all these great wishes on Zoom and other social media platforms.
Yeah, thanks, Diksha. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Diksha.
Yeah.
Just picking on one of your point about the fans, I think just very inquisitive and very thoughtfully thinking about it, that maybe this season you're going to have, Mukul, this is for you, you're going to have more fans coming to Goa and being outside your hotel than in the bio bubble of the stadium. So how are you going to handle that?
Possibly yes, possibly yes. But I would just say stay safe, keep maintain social distancing, and wash your hands. Do not touch any players. It's for your own good and for your players' good, for them to be there and do whatever you want them to do as players, and make us all proud.
Correct. That's wonderful. I think we've kind of lost the coach in his connectivity, but he'll be coming back. Just a quick one, I think, which Mukul, you could also chip in with your views. You know, with ISL six editions down and fast becoming one of the top leagues in Asia, and with ISL being just a 4 months tournament, don't you think India needs a round the year league to make the players more competitive at world stage? I've asked this before to another coach also. So just on your thoughts, and then we can take over to
Yeah, it would be good. You need that engagement because football is a very physically demanding sport, and you have to be active all through the year. But for that, you need those many teams to be participating. And I think the immediate, or rather, the ultimate aim is to get those many teams engaged. I think slowly and steadily with teams coming on board. Now we have East Bengal, which has come in. So the number of games will obviously go up. You'll also keep looking for other geographies to join in. I'm sure there's a lot of football happening in Ahmedabad and Gujarat. There's good football happening in. You have that second division teams which are there, I-League teams which are there, which are now all over the country. Once upon a time, it was just more of a east and a west phenomena. So you had Goa and Maharashtra playing football against uh, Calcutta and West Bengal teams. You had all of that, and now it's spread all over. So thanks to what the efforts of All India Football Federation and of course ISL, the way they've taken it to a different level altogether. So I think it will only grow. You'll get more attractive. You'll have more teams participating, and I think with more teams participating, this league will obviously get longer and better. So yeah, we will have a longer season. It will help. If you ask me that question, it does help, and you need that kind of a long season. What you see back in Europe and America, where the football per se is the way it is, it's also because of the number of matches that they play and the length of this tournament that is there. So we will get there sometime. I think steadily we are growing the numbers, and I think years to come you'll see more and more teams participating.
superb. So, coach, we were asking. In fact, we just lost you in between. We were asking Mukul and wanted your views on the same thing. That ISL six editions down is fast becoming one of the top leagues in Asia, with ISL being just 4 months old tournament. Don't you think that India needs a round the year league to make the players more competitive at world stage? Coach, can you hear us, Coach O? I think there's still a connectivity issue there with the sound. So, Coach, can you hear us one last time? I'm checking. I think we need to fix that. But anyway, we're coming to the absolutely.
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you, Rajiv.
Okay, if you
Can
could kindly. Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, Rajiv.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
Rajiv.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. We need to play more games. If we play more games, that gives a continued development and growth for the players. Now, and again, if we want to come in with AFC, with everything, we have to play more games anyway. So obviously this year, I think we're restricted with COVID, but there's no doubt whether it's 27 games we get to or 30 odd games, that will help the players. It will also help the national team. And the criteria, if we go as next year 3+1, it's only going to help grow Indian football. And as though we're their head coaches coming from different countries, we have an obligation to help the Indian players and help the country that we're working in. So that's why I think it's a huge thing for moving forward. More games, more training time helps the players, no doubt about it.
Superb. And just your thoughts on recently announced ISL aligning with Asia's 3+1 foreigner rule to be implemented from the 2021 season, which has not got down too well with certain other coaches of the club. Your views?
Well, I mean, if we perceive that to be that 3+1, 4 foreigners will take the field. At the moment, only 5 foreigners take the field anyway. So what it does, it allows one more space for the growth and development of an Indian player. So for me, I think it's a great thing. I think that it gives opportunity for young Indian players to say, I'm going to be the guy that grabs that spot. I want to be the one that stays in the team. So for me, I welcome it. I can understand people think, oh, the more the young Indian players spend time with them, the more they come up to that level. So for me, it's an opportunity for the young Indian player to say, I'm going to be the guy that steps into that slot. So I'm listening.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So last one for you, Mukul, before we wind this off. Jamshedpur FC, again, we're talking about fans here. Jamshedpur FC has, in a way, galvanized the city of Jamshedpur in terms of football. If we say Jamshedpur, not many knows, has a rich football pedigree, but the enthusiasm showed by the people towards the relatively new formed Jamshedpur FC is something unprecedented. Your thoughts on this, the fan culture and the reception of Jamshedpur FC by Jamshedpur?
Uh, I think it's been amazing. I think we are really, really lucky and proud of our fan base the way it is. There are clubs which could show a lot of fans on social media, but when it comes to stadium, you don't see them full. So where are the fans? I would ask. But in our case, typically you have all the fans right there at the stadium and cheering us every time, whether we are doing well or not. And that's something that we are very much emotionally connected with. And whenever we actually speak to any players, even for signings, we say the kind of fan base that you will have and the kind of support that you would garner in Jamshedpur is very different from what you can expect from other teams. So these are pluses which everybody sees and notices. And be it during matches, even otherwise, the kind of support that we get from our fans and also from our there are fan clubs which are there, which support us, Red Miners, Red Army, who are regular with us. They help us with our grassroots programs. They're there with us while we do everything. So it's good to have somebody who believes in you, who works with you, who thinks it's part and be part of the team as much as the players and us as such. So I think it's just amazing. We are going to miss them big time, I think, in this season. But I'm sure that wherever they are, they're going to cheer for us as loudly and as much as they do when they were in the stadium. And I'm sure we will have a good season and we'll see that they are not disappointed at any point of time.
Indeed, and who knows, they might find very innovative ideas to still reach you with Goa. So as we discussed, it's brilliant, and I think we all are very proud of our fan base and fan culture in Jamshedpur. Before I say thank you to all, I also would like to, and I think Mukul will second me in that. When we were talking to coach in terms of infrastructure and what goes into JFC in making of Jamshedpur FC, there is a lot of hard work which has happened at the back end by the Tata team, and right from the inception year to till date. And it's easier to say that we are the club who owns a stadium and runs their own club and their own infrastructure and all, but there is whole lot of stuff which goes behind the scene, whether it's about our corporate services team or it's our Jusco team who conducts it on their own. And it's a huge exercise which the other clubs are actually managing, outsourcing it, either depending on the government or doing it through other sources. And I think a big toast to our team at the back end who is doing a wonderful job. And Mukul, would you like to put a line there?
Of course, I think it would have never been so easy. The entire Tata Steel teams, which is basically working along corporate services, the division which we work in, everybody plays their part, right? Be it infrastructure. I think probably it was looking impossible in the first year when we put together the stadium or the practice ground, all the way the renovation of the main pitch was concerned. All of this, the way it worked, and even otherwise, right, from security to hospitality, just name it, and everywhere we scoring better than most of the teams in the country. And that's all because of the kind of people that are behind us from the corporate services, even Tata Steel in general, who have supported us and have always been right there in the thick of things, not just advising in terms of what needs to be done. So I think we are really lucky and fortunate to have such support, and which will obviously go on till we are there, and whatever we be today is because of them. I think it's just wise to thank them again, as in on this platform and taking this opportunity to say that, this is wonderful, and we'll continue to, even for example, even medical services, it's all in-house. The kind of support we garner here, I think we're just lucky. So I think thank you for all of that. And I think thank you is not just, it may not, I will not be able to express it in the words alone, but it's just fantastic. I think it just all falls in place for us as far as the club is concerned.
Indeed, and we are very, very proud of our team and a family as a unit. And I think what better way to end this webinar to thank each one of them who are behind the scenes, who the ones, as Coach Owen mentioned, the kind of team which we are working with Prashant, Adrian, everybody around. And Mukul, you being at the top, leading from the front. I think we are only looking at good times ahead, whether it's Goa or any other destination. Obviously, challenges will come and go, but we will have to live with it. And no better person than Coach Owen to join us and to take us through. I just wanted to thank from bottom of my heart to have this opportunity to be part of this webinar and talking to both of you, Coach Owen and Mukul. And also touch basing with our fan base in some sense. And thank you very much once again for giving this time. And before I request Diksha to conclude this from her end, thank you very much.
I think every time I say the same, that you've said it all. There's nothing much left for me to say.
No, I think you have, because Coach is still joining, so you should.
Yeah. So I think all I have to say is, even as football is ready to witness its new normal in the upcoming ISL season, I think the excitement will be no less.
Yeah, still here, Diksha.
Hello. Yeah. Yes, Raj. I am sorry. Did I miss something?
No, it's okay.
Okay. So I was saying that the excitement will be no less. And on behalf of all the fans and everyone who's joining us in this webinar, I want to wish all the best to the team, to Jamshedpur FC. We are lucky to have both this year. And I love the smile, Coach. I have to say, you have a fantastic smile. I've become a big fan of yours already with your smile. And just as I say that, he's disappeared, shy man that he is. But no, that's I think a technical issue. So thank you to both of you once again. It's been a pleasure to have you and have these discussions, and the kind of response that we've been getting from the audience, I think that means a lot. They're enjoying it. And so we really, really want to thank our panelists and our audience for being a part of these webinars. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Diksha. Thanks, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you, Mukul.
Thanks,
thank
Owen.
you, Coach Owen.
And thanks, everyone.